Cotton candy. Oh, things. You've never seen that movie, The Killer Clown? Dora knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Don't you have the flashlight app on your phone, Michelle?
I do, it's on.
It is?
Hers is very dim.
Ooh, sneaky down here.
Apparently she's taken a lot of photos.
Oh, goodness. Oh, God, hear that noise?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
no.
you can see if you look all the way forward,
Oh.
you can tell by the narrowing of the hull that we're almost all the way at the bow of the ship.
Don't drop your phone. Oh, God, it's so creepy.
When the Queen Mary was a troop transport during the war, and she would carry POWs, sometimes there were so many that they couldn't confine them, so they would just be all over the ship, just like the other soldiers. But when they were able to, they would confine them in areas, and this was one of the areas they would use.
So they would just stick him in here, or they were handcuffed?
No, they would stick them in here. They wouldn't handcuff them, but
And
then
whoever
they'd be
survives.
locked in here. Yeah, it would be a pretty rough voyage in here because you're right at the bow of the ship, which would be the roughest part.
Yeah.
And of course, these are far from the first class accommodations
Yeah.
you would enjoy at other times. Yeah, and so we know that not all those prisoners survived those voyages. I also mentioned that during the war that the Queen Mary was never attacked. She did, however, have a horrible accident. When she was a troop transport, they would utilize these zigzag or these serpentine maneuvers to avoid being targeted by enemy submarines, because it would take a German U-boat about 6 minutes to target and fire their torpedoes. So about every 5 minutes, the Queen Mary would slightly alter course so that if they were being targeted and they didn't know it, they would have to start targeting over because they just turned.
Are you creating a disco effect in my shirt?
No. Oh, just a little creeped out.
So on one of her voyages, when she was traveling towards Scotland, a smaller vessel called the HMS Curacao came out to escort her into port. The Queen Mary accidentally crashed into that smaller ship after it did one of its serpentine maneuvers. It broke that smaller vessel completely in half and sunk it. It killed over 300 men. There were thousands of soldiers aboard the Queen Mary that would have witnessed this accident. Reports tell us that they were yelling to the crew to try to help these men. They even were ripping off their own life vests and throwing them into the sea to try to save the men that they could see dying all around them. But the ship itself didn't attempt to rescue survivors because, number one, it would take up to 10 miles to stop the ship because of its size and its speed. But even more importantly, number two, there were thousands of men aboard this ship, and the Queen Mary was the prime target. And so they were under strict orders not to alter their speed.
Yeah, because that could have been a diversion too, right?
Yeah.
The whole
yeah.
ship.
Yeah. So,
And that was before the internet, so they couldn't go right on their phones and Facebook about it.
no, they couldn't. Yeah, so anyway, we have had reports at the bow of the ship here where people have heard sounds that they say sound like they're coming from outside of the hull of the ship. Some people have heard sounds of what sounds like a tool or a wrench or something knocking against the outside hull. Some people said it sounded like Morse code, as though someone was trying to communicate something to them. And others have reported hearing the sounds of voices yelling or screaming here at the bow of the ship. So I would have to think that
How
that
do we get in?
relates.
Where'd the door go?
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Big, large opening.
That?
Mhm.
Oh, yes. What about this rope? Is this like no good rope? Or
Well, we don't have the need for rope that they did back then.
big thing of screws?
Yeah.
What's in there?
This would have been storage areas when it was an ocean liner. And just behind here that we walked through to come into here, those were crew areas of the ship.
Oh, boy. What's that? I'm creeped out now. Yeah. You need an actual flashlight for this one, not just a phone. I would put a flashlight if I know.
Oh, sorry. I'm